Hello, in this video I will give advice to young men. This wife, a spouse of mine, has never been punched, so she doesn't believe in self-defense. As far as maybe mentally she does, I believe in defending yourself, but she doesn't believe in, she believes in defending herself, but she doesn't believe in like exercising or learning martial arts or physically doing anything, moving her body in any way. No. And she knows that in the United States, the police are her dogs. The police are her sheepdogs. They protect her. What she doesn't understand is that I I don't like what I wrote here because I don't want any harm to come to my daughter. But her daughter, my spouse's daughter, it's our daughter, but the spouse will probably be raped in front of her own daughter, and her own daughter will probably be raped in front of her. Not because I want this to happen, but because if your daughter doesn't believe in self-defense, because my mother doesn't believe in self-defense, my mother doesn't believe in guns, then I'm using my words as my daughter, and then yes, you can be defenseless. For instance, my mother-in-law in Honduras, bad men went into her house and they stole nothing. Why? There was just a refrigerator and a stove and a TV. If they open the refrigerator, there's only water in there. I mean, there is no food in there. The woman weighed 68 pounds. She was close to 70 years old, 60 something. There was nothing to steal. The crib where the baby slept, the baby was already 8 years old, but he still slept in that wooden crib, and it had been, some animal was eating the insect, was eating the legs on the crib. So if you have nothing, you weigh 68 pounds, even the criminals will not harm you. All right? Even those guys will say, well, there's nothing to steal here. So if you're a young man and you want to teach your spouse to protect herself, the best advice is move away from her. At least don't live with her. For all men, don't live with women in the United States. My stepdad, that was his technique. And my mother and other women that's her friends would talk about Bob, and they would say, Bob cannot help you with anything. He doesn't drive, so he doesn't have a car to give you a ride anywhere. He doesn't what if you ask him to go with you somewhere, he asks you what part of the city it's in Chicago, right? If it's in the black neighborhood, he won't go. Whereas the women, they don't even know if it's a black neighborhood or a white neighborhood. Bob told me, I don't move in with your mother because she could throw me out. And he was right. If he moved into her house. So he always kept a little room for himself. And if you ever lived in a tiny hotel building, something like that, or a small one, a small room, smaller than this, It was probably an 8 by 10 or something. Alright, so young men, to be respected, you must live alone. Women change and start yelling. Mothers yell at you. Old girlfriends, that means that you've been with them a month, 2 months, 3 months, older than like that in time, they start yelling at you, especially if you live with them. If you join the military, they yell at you. Now, I haven't been in the military, so it's just my opinion. They yell at you. So, if you want to be a strong man, you have to have money. I believe in God, so like, but now I'm modifying my God. My God now is a ninja. And not in the sense that he's out to go in the night and hurt someone, but that when you look for a ninja, you can't find them. They're invisible. And God has done a lot of things to make himself difficult to find. At least difficult to be seen. He works through different people. For instance, you can find him if you read him in the Bible, right? But reading the Bible is boring as heck. So get the Boring Bible series. I haven't gotten those books yet, but they're for kids. But they may help you. Young man, you must live alone and have money. And make your girlfriend come over for sex, perhaps dinner and sex, and then leave after one night. Because in Florida, if she stays 3 nights with you, then she technically lives with you. So the best advice is live in a little shed, all right, or even smaller. It's best if your bathroom is divided from that you have to go outside to go to the bathroom, like in the old days when there was no indoor plumbing. Get a composting toilet, live in the shed, make the shed only 5 feet tall or smaller, so when you're in bed, you can't stand up. You gotta get out of the room. All right. This way, you pay less for air conditioning, and you train yourself to live in a very small space. But you'll still have your freedom. You won't be in jail or prison where you don't get out. Like right now, I could go outside and it's okay. I'm not in jail. I'm in a room in the back of a house, you know. All right, you go visit. If your girlfriend has your baby, then after school, you go visit until bedtime, and then you must leave. All right? Because if you marry a Spanish woman, she's into the novellas. And let me tell you, the novellas, they're going to be around for maybe the next 100 years. To me, it's garbage television. But I know you can learn important things from the novellas. You can learn from anything. But it's not the best choice. Like last night, I just heard about Booker T. Washington because he wrote a book about character building. And he talks to the young black man and he says, don't drink, don't gamble or try to earn money by gambling. And if you go to his school, then when you get out, even if you were only there 1 year and not the 4 years and didn't graduate, he says, make sure that you will go help someone and never stop working. So I stopped working, so I didn't follow his advice, but maybe I can get back into it. Another advice I have for young men is don't drive a car. This way you avoid the police. All right? Now, this is difficult for me because my father and my mother, they were both hit by cars, right? My mother was hit by a truck an RC Cola truck. I was 4 years old. And so that's why my mother was always yelling, because she was in pain. And so people in pain, they don't really have a patience factor. They don't have patience. But my dad, he laughed that my mother got hit by a truck. And he said to her in her hospital bed, I would have given $5 for that truck driver to finish you off. Alright, so guess how he died? He got hit by a drunk driver in Honduras while riding his bicycle. But I still think that, even though I know that the most dangerous sport in the United States is bicycle riding, because more people do that than play football or any other dangerous sport. Baseball, the ball could hit you in the eye. So I don't play baseball because they don't use tennis balls. I mean, if they would use tennis balls, I would play baseball. And I play with my kids, but, well, the one that likes playing, my son, he's played with my daughter too, but that was when she was young, in her first childhood. There are 3 childhoods, 6, 12, 18 years old. The first childhood are the first 6 years. And second childhood. She played during her second childhood too. But now she won't play anything with me. Except basketball. I did go play with her the other day. And that's not at the park. What the mother did, the mother buys things. She bought her a basketball hoop. And she's playing in the back. Alright, so you go visit your children and you stay from after school, whenever they get home from school, or when they're babies, right? You stay from whatever time you get off of work. I recommend you work at a school so that you'll be finished by 3 o'clock and you'll be able to play with your kids or sing to them or hold them and carry them and tell them you love them. And feed them something from when they're, how old are they? They are from age 0 to forever, you know. Alright, so I did that one. Young man, live. Oh yeah, the Bible says that if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. If you live with your gun, you will die by a bullet somewhere. But I really believe that your gun is your life and protects your human rights. You see, and I also believe that the gun is property. If you have a bicycle, that's your property and it moves you from here to there. But if you have a gun or a knife, it is property. But there's a debate about that somewhere. Alright, God gave us a brain, and you're going to die by the sword, right? Die by the use of a gun or something. But God gave us a brain, and with that brain, humans made guns to protect ourselves so that we could stop bullies. Now, if you're a Christian, just put rubber bullets on it, alright? Put rubber bullets. Gosh, what did I write there? Alright, this is another video. So, in Mile High Karate, my son went there for $167 a month. I was against it because of the $167 a month. But Grandma decided to pay it. So I took my son, I drove back then. And it was Monday through Friday. But it was 3 teachers, not just one. That's the difference. But it was karate, which is the opposite of my style, which is Tai Chi. In Tai Chi, I move out of the way, or I move you out of the way. But in karate, you destroy out of the way. If they come with you with a punch to the nose, you block with all your strength Whereas in Tai Chi, you move your head or you move the hand like this and you deflect. You're more like a musical director, like in an orchestra, the conductor, moving the wand, right? So in Mile High Karate, they taught me I only fight to protect my life and the life of others. But I'm going to add one to it. I only fight to protect my life and my human rights. All right? Like the first human right says that I have the right to life. The second one, oh no, I have the right to life, right? But that's the third one actually. But the first one says we are all equal. But we are not all equal. All right? The women are more powerful than the men in the United States. That is, if you call the cops and say, the spouse threw my CDs on the floor, $300 worth of CDs, then they'll come over and they'll say, if you can't live together, then move out. But I didn't move out back then because I'm already paying for the apartment. How am I going to pay for 2 apartments with the wages in the United States? Because I would still be responsible for her apartment. And then she said, well, you made me quit my job. And I told her, the neighbor knocked on our babysitter's door and said, let me hold the baby. And she burped the baby, and then she handed the baby back to the babysitter, who was babysitting our baby for what, $70 a week. And she would not, the baby was just crying all day. And the mother, or the babysitter, she was a mom also, but the babysitter, she thought it was because the baby wanted to be held. But that was not the reason. All right? So, yes, I threatened the spouse here. If you don't stay home and take care of that baby, I will stay home and take care of that baby. And you can feed me. You can go to work. All right, but sometimes you're dealing with very ignorant women. And then the worst thing that she did, this woman, because I got her pregnant the first time, she didn't know what was happening. She was a virgin, she told me. And the second time, 3 years later, I got her pregnant again, and I didn't tell her that I was getting her pregnant. And she still didn't know that I had gotten her pregnant. But then she was upset because I had all these other girlfriends, 3 more, I think. And I made a decision back then to have both my kids with this woman. And this woman got very angry about the other girlfriends and about how would she find out? Well, my daughter was 3 years old. I would go visit the other girlfriends, and the other girlfriends would comb my daughter's hair. And this woman knew that I could not do anything to my daughter's hair. I didn't know how to do anything. Women's hair, curls, braided. I don't know how to do anything. Now those other women, the girlfriends, they were wonderful, wonderful. I mean, they loved my daughter and they loved me, and they were just loving. Some had their own kids, some did not. And so I had sex with this, well, of course I had sex with this spouse, and I gave her a baby, right? God allowed that to happen. And then when this baby boy was born, she hated him. She would not breastfeed him. That was very difficult. And what can you do as a man? You can't beat her up because she won't breastfeed your baby. So some women are very ignorant. Now she said it's because he bit me, or it's because he bites too hard. But another older woman told us, yell at him, don't do that. And then the baby will not do that again. You don't hit the baby, you just yell at him, don't bite me. Then you try again. You switch position to the other one, the other breast. All right. So you must live alone, young man. I know that if you're like me, you're going to protect your children. And that's why I put up with this woman. Now, it's true, she gets angry because I used to do a lot of things to get her angry. Like this weekend, I put the pork in the shed because I threw away the previous pork chops. She had like 8 of them. Buy one, get one free. And so she had these pork chops, one in the freezer, and the other one was defrosting. So when she left, she went somewhere, I put them in the trash can and she found them. So she cooked them in the oven. I don't know, she must have cleaned them up and put them in the oven. And then I had a cold this weekend, so she was eating and she had fed me some eggs or something else. But why don't I eat with them? Because they eat pork. Why don't I eat pork? Because my mother used to lie to me and tell me that pork was beef. And so when your mother lies to you, it just really messes up your brain. You really don't understand many things. You become less intelligent. So what I did, I went to Honduras one time and I ate pork and I got an allergic reaction, or some animal was in me, I don't know. And I was red, half the body. And so then I don't eat pork anymore. And also, I didn't know it was pork when I ate it in Honduras because it was a taco on the street. And then what happened another time when I was 16, my friend's mother, she went to Mexico and she came back and told the story how there was a worm eating her brain and it was giving her a headache, so they cut her open in Mexico and took the worm out. I think that's what happened, I'm not sure. And that she had gotten the worm from eating pork. And so I do believe there's a conspiracy theory that other humans control us, the more intelligent ones. And they say, for instance, if this is a can of soda, they say, you know how to sell more soda? Put more sugar in it. And sure enough, it used to, maybe, I don't know if it was true. It only had 1 gram of sugar back in the year 1900. And now in 2013, it has, 37 grams of sugar, 42 grams of sugar per can. So people that sell things, sometimes they don't care about the consumer. And people that sell pork, they don't care if you get sick. They only care if it's on TV and then nobody buys pork. But otherwise they don't, and they stop making sales. My grandpa told me that in the United States, there's a new word, and this word is money. I mean, it's like a god. You just care about money. You don't care about your fellow human beings. Like I care about people. So I make videos, one, because I have nobody else to talk to. Besides my son, he'll see these when he's older. My son is my disciple. He reads the Bible with me. Today I told him we're going to read about Booker T. Washington. I mean, I tell him things that probably nobody will find out until they're 40 years old, like I am. Like I heard the name Booker T. Washington, but I never read anything about him. Except that he was a black... I think the word was educator. Maybe I knew that, but now I know he was an educator somehow because he was at some college. And he used to talk to his students on Sundays, and he says it was almost like fatherly advice. Well, a lot of these students didn't have fathers. Why? Because they were black, and the blacks were separated from their fathers by their slave masters, the white people. I learn from everyone. Even bad people can teach you good things. Even a bully, like a bully that used to beat me in second grade, he one time saw me crying because I didn't know how to get out of the school because the alarm rang and I must have been in the bathroom or something, and then there was nobody in the hallways and I didn't know which way to go because I had always just followed the line up, for second graders, and you just follow the line. Interestingly, when you follow the line, it's just like when you're in a prison. You follow people in line. And in the book, the 5 personality types, it talked about the fat man, and it did talk about how that fat person is always at the front of the line when they're going to the lunchroom. And that is true. I had my friend Christina, and when I was Baker acted in the hospital jail, and every day I was ready for lunch, but she was the first one in. She was leading the line. She was the line leader every single day, and I was at the back of the line, and we would sit together, and we would pray. Thank you, God, for our food. I don't think we held hands to pray, but no, I don't think we did. But we would all bow our heads and pray and thank you, God, for our food. But she wasn't really hungry. Not for food. Yes, she put away 2 plates, but what she was really after was love. Like, she had 1 bite and she would say, "May I have seconds?" And this was every single day. And every single day they told her yes, after everybody else is finished. Because she was already eating, and there were like 10 of us still waiting to be served. And she didn't really want seconds. She also had a tattoo that said Mom and Dad with a heart on it. And that tattoo, I think that maybe her mom and dad didn't love her. Or maybe they did love her, but I don't know. Something was strange about her. She was only 20 years old. She slept with her puppies or dogs all over her bed. Christina Barnett. If you're there, Christina, you could contact me. You know my email. And also, when you come home, if you live with a woman, they don't want any of your friends. Now, these I met at the hospital jail. But I met other friends, and they don't like your friends. Now, it's true, one of my best friends was schizophrenic. But he was a soldier, and when he got out, the spouse here introduced him on the internet to her cousin in Honduras, Tanya. And he worked with another Tanya, and then he met another Tanya at the flea market. And he says, "I'm surrounded by 3 Tanyas." Now, this was on the day he remembered. The next day, he thought that all 3 Tanyas were the same one. And I was like, how can that be? You know that one is in Honduras on the internet. Or if you don't know, if you bought a plane ticket, which you do have the money for, you could go over there and you could see that she doesn't live here where we live. or she doesn't look the same as the girl that works with you. And he did take a picture of his coworker, but the girl said, delete it, delete it. And she was on top of him screaming and yelling, and so he had to delete it because he was going to bring me the picture. Now I would have freaked out if they were all the same. If they were all the same photo of the. This is Tanya, the coworker. This is Tanya, the internet, and this is Tanya, the what you call it, the flea market. Now if it would have shown me the same picture for Tanya, I would have said, wait a minute, what did you do? Because I met physically the Tanya in Honduras. But no, he didn't bring me any pictures. So a year later, after he moved out, I found out. He said, I had a concussion or something. He called it not a concussion, he called it something else. And so I got operated on the head, and now I'm fine, and I know who's who now. And I'm like, oh, great. The spouse still doesn't want to see you, so I guess we can't be friends. I didn't tell him that part. She doesn't want to see you. So then he didn't remember our names anyway. He remembered me, but he didn't. And then he said, you were the only one that I never had anything bad to say about. And that was because I didn't bother him. Men, you could get along with even schizophrenics, all right? You can get along with other men. But with women, if you have sex with them, they start yelling at you. Or if they're your mother, they start yelling at you. And they start chasing away your girlfriends also. Whereas I myself, even when my son was only, 4 years old, he wanted to go see this girl over there. I took him. And the husband wasn't home, or the father wasn't home. So I stayed outside, and then the mother actually came out. And she didn't know what to do with me because, how many men go visit married women, right? But it was evident that my son liked her daughter. And so one time he gave her, I think, a kangaroo. And then a little picture of a kangaroo. And then to the other girl, they were cousins, the two girls, he gave her a picture of a camel. All right? Now, this kind of love, it changes when you become, when you hit puberty and you have, your body starts producing sperm and you need sex and you find women attractive. What happens is, you as a man, you like this girl and you like that girl. This one because she's fat. This one because she's slim and skinny. This other one because she rides a bicycle and goes places with you. This other one because she cooks great food. And so women have many talents, and so you like many of them. So I have two uncles. One of them married and stayed married with this one woman. And he doesn't get into arguments because he says good morning and he's done for the day. He doesn't have to talk the rest of the day. He's a voluntary mute. And he's always working. He's a doctor. He's always working. He was a gynecologist. Yes. I was there one time when a baby was born. There was a lot of water coming out of the woman. And then the baby. And then I could see my uncle sitting in front of her. And then I felt at 16 years old, and I just leaned back. I was wearing all green. Nobody knew what I looked like. I looked like a green ninja. And I just fell backwards towards the wall because I had not seen a vagina back then. And then when the water gushed out, it was almost like a monster movie. Well, but what got me were the screams of the mom. That's what got me all dizzy and stuff. Cause like, and they were maybe what, 15 feet away, maybe a little farther. Yeah, maybe 20 feet away from me. And I was back there just falling on the wall. So that was my first experience with a childbirth. Um, the other two experiences were with my son, completely different. My daughter was born, my firstborn, she was without, number one, a vacuum assist. That means that they put a suction cup and pulled her out. And two, she was a dry, there was no water gushing out. With the baby boy, it was a cesarean, and they had put a curtain up so that I couldn't see anything except my wife's neck and this green curtain, and I was right there next to her face, so like I didn't even know what I was looking at. All right, so it was completely different. The other thing I was telling you about was women start yelling at you, so you gotta live alone. All right, so the other uncle, he lived in New York, and he just kept getting married and divorced and married and divorced, and children with all of them, I think. And he actually was always, I think, a nice guy. He's very calm, cool, and collected. But his wives, I guess they were arguing with him. So he would just get divorced, and I believe he was the one that did the divorces. I really believe I think he can't read, all right? But yeah, it's interesting how one brother becomes a doctor, the other one can't read, right? And the woman, my mother, the sister, she was a school teacher, but that was because my grandpa would not pay for her schooling. And so since she was the oldest, she paid for her youngest brother to go to school and become a doctor. And this brother she met when she was 30 years old, but she knew about him since he was from another woman. So she always knew that my grandpa used to say, "¿Dónde está Rafael? I don't know where he is," because grandpa would look at my mother sleeping, but my mother was awake and she was a little girl. "Aquí está his daughter sleeping on this bed, but where is my son, the other one, the one that he had an affair with some other woman?" But I'm not going to tell you that this way is better or that way is better, because you will suffer in this world. But if you're a voluntary mute and you don't talk, you could stay married forever, and your spouse starts yelling, you just say, "Excuse me," and you go outside, and you come back an hour later or 2 hours later. But that's in Honduras, where everybody knows what car you drive, all right? Back then, I mean, I was telling my son a little while ago that my grandpa had the only Jeep in the whole town. Everybody else had a pickup. I mean, everybody knew who he was. Why didn't he buy a... But grandpa told me, if I buy a pickup, where am I put the kids at? Where am I going to put the kids? In the back? And he says, if I buy a little Nissan or Datsun, what was it? The little one that they use for taxis. It says that's only good for the city. I live in the country. You know, I go over a bridge. Sometimes the bridge is out. I have to put wood. To he was the only person driving in our neighborhood for a half hour. Or what? For a half hour. 20 minutes, maybe, from his farm to the first cement part of the road. And the city was so small that there was only one red light. And I never saw two cars. I didn't know what it was for. And he told me, but I didn't know until I came to the United States. Oh, look, the cars stop on red. I don't know if they used it in Honduras. Maybe they just looked at it and said, what a nice light. But I don't think they used it. I don't know. In Tela, Honduras. He lived, my grandpa was happy because he lived in the boondocks. And he had the conveniences. He had a car. No refrigerator. He had an igloo with ice. Alright, this video is getting long. Enjoy your life. Be better than I am. Live alone. Do get married, but then get divorced right away. I would say the next day or 3 days later. Because women, the only reason that they like getting married is for the dress and the party. And that's really the only reason they like getting married. Nobody really thinks about I vow to be a good husband to you. Nobody thinks about that. I didn't take any vows. In the United States, the vows, they're only in movies. When you really get married the first time, it's like you don't even know where you're going to park the car, all right? So like you're not really prepared for anything. Where am I going to park the car? $20 parking. Oh boy. That's Miami. So you go get married somewhere else because she found out there's another place you could get married. I didn't know that a notary public could marry you. I would go that route next time. Just go to the check cashing store and say, could you marry us, please? Thank you. Thank you. We're done. If only divorces were that fast. And they could be if you don't have any kids, like 3 days after you're married. Get divorced, just pay the money again. And why do you want to be divorced? Because you don't want to own anything with a woman, because this house actually belongs to her. All right? It doesn't really belong to me, because I destroyed one door and I get Baker acted. My CD collection of Tony Robbins that she body slammed, that cost $300. The door does not cost $300. All right? Get married, get divorced 3 days later. Live alone.